Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the NK News Podcast. I am your temporary host, Jeongmin, as Alana is away. And joined here today in the studio is Colin Zwirko, our senior analytic correspondent. We're recording a little bit before 3 p.m. Tuesday, August 11th. And today is a series, a special episode of Colin Zwirko's greatest hits.
Sure.
In the past 2 weeks, we have a running joke in the office that even when Colin wants like a slow news day, he just keeps spotting stuff. And then you have to write it because you already saw it.
Sure. Happens sometimes.
Yeah, it does happen sometimes. And it happened a lot in the past 2 weeks. And let's start with a late July story. There's apparently a buried facility at a missile factory, buried property, I guess, an area where it's known to produce the short-range ballistic missiles that are for export for Russia. Can you walk us through the story a little bit first?
Sure. This is just a factory that's important because it's been positively identified as a place that's producing the short-range missiles that North Korea is sending to Russia, and then North Korea also claims it is using itself with its own troops against Ukraine. So the construction itself it's not possible to know exactly what they're doing with it yet, but it's an unusual type of construction. So they built a new large building at the missile factory up in a secluded part of the valley, far away from the rest of the factory. So it seems like it's maybe dealing with dangerous materials, and they have buried it underground after they built it. So maybe it points to extra security concerns or extra safety concerns, kind of like how sometimes they try to protect these buildings that deal with explosives from if there's an explosion to prevent it from affecting other buildings.
How normal is that type of construction, sort of burying the facility when you look at other munitions or related sites in North Korea?
They've only done this type of construction that I've noticed one other time, and it's at this place that's also unidentified but suspected nuclear related facility, non-confirmed, at a place called Hagap. So it just seems like a new type of construction that they're doing, but it's mostly just a story about how they're still trying to upgrade and make this missile factory better, perhaps, as it relates to their participation in the war with Russia against Ukraine. Otherwise, we have to wait and see exactly what this type of facility is. It's just intriguing because it's unusual.
Now that you mentioned it, can you tell our listeners a little bit more about Hagap, in case people don't know where that is?
Well, it's over by Myeongsan, like in the central part of the country. But the facility is not, it's just not confirmed what it is, but they built this very large structure and then covered it in dirt and buried it just in the last couple of years. So it's a place, Myeongsan, Kim Jong-un goes there to hold plenums. He did that just a couple months ago. Every summer lately, he brings all the officials out there and they have little retreats to talk about policy. So it's a very important place. He used to have a mansion up there that he used to go to all the time. That's where tourists are taken to go to the big gifts museum. That's just to give an idea of the area.
So it's like a souvenir shop, touristy, plus some military stuff going on there.
Yeah, the gifts museum is that place, that really large place where they put all the gifts that the Kim family has received.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
I see. So Hagap is different from what Unification Minister of South Korea was claiming before, right? That's Kusong.
That's Kusong.
Lastly, on this subject, what do we know about the short-range ballistic missiles, the latest ones that North Korea has been testing or producing? There was a test recently, and South Korean side said that it's a short-range ballistic missile. Not much detail from Japan or Korea side after that, and North Korean state media also did not report on that.
Yeah, so it's just unknown exactly what they tested. That was last Thursday, I believe.
At 5 p.m., I remember.
Yeah, so just a regular short-range missile test. I mean, the missile testing has slowed down from North Korea, presumably because, the short-range missile testing has slowed down because they're using these missiles in Ukraine. They're getting a lot of data that way, using them in real combat scenarios and
more effective tests.
Yeah. So whenever they do a test these days, we presume it has something to do with technology that's under development. So it's a total guess, but I would guess maybe this was utilizing the new modular launch vehicle, where they can. It's kind of like where they can combine a short range missile and a multiple launch rocket system MLRS.
Say that 3 times.
on one launcher.
Yeah.
That's just would be my guess, but they've done that a few times where they launch in succession the MLRS and a short range missile.
That was May, right?
Yeah, and then South Korea comes out and says they detected one missile, but then North Korea the next day would show us that they did a bunch of stuff together, and that's all meant. Experts have deduced that could be North Korea trying to figure out how much they can do without being perfectly detected by South Korea, in addition to the rest of the development related purpose of the test.
So it could have been similar this time around, looking at how there were no updates from South Korea afterward, but there were also CRBMs, right? More recently in June and July. Are those new types?
It was just... I haven't tried to measure them in a couple of years, but what they've been called by North Korea is a smaller missile than the Hwasong 11A that they're sending to Russia for a few years now. And then so the Hwasong 11D would be this smaller so-called CRBM. I forgot exactly what the estimated range on it is.
Just very short. Let's move on to the next satellite imagery story. And moving on to the next satellite story, this was August 4th. There is a large new complex under construction at Pyongyang Telecom Station. Walk us through it.
Sure. So this is south of Pyongyang, a very large complex where we noticed that there's 17 circular structures that they've built at this complex in a kind of like a trapezoid pattern in 3 rows. And the circular structures are 7 to 10 meters in diameter, so they're very large. You can picture that's a very large room, like an office size. And
you have to read the story, by the way, to exactly see what it looks like.
Yeah, to get all the visuals, sure. It's right next to what North Korea has called in English the Pyongyang Earth Station, but what's translated as the Pyongyang International Telecom Station, something like that.
국제위성통신국.
Yeah. And so talked to Martin Williams, an expert on North Korea tech and broadcasting, and he gave me some insights on it. I mean, it's right next to the existing station, and so the assumption is that it could be an upgraded one or a supplementary complex, and that they could put large antennas like satellite dishes on each of these structures, which need a very solid base. And the assumption right now is it's unclear because we have to wait and see what exactly they install on all these structures, but that it would be telecom related, not related to, say, their military satellite
reconnaissance program.
Yeah, so the explanation on that, and I'm not a technical expert, but something like where those satellites that North Korea, they've launched one successfully, but if they in the future launched a lot of military reconnaissance satellites, those are in low Earth orbit. As they move past the peninsula, a small satellite would have to, or a small dish antenna would have to track that across the sky. So it would have to move in a very agile way. But broadcast satellites are geostationary satellites. They look as if they're attached to the Earth when they go in the same rotation as the Earth. So you only need to point a satellite at it in one direction and keep it that way. And that's kind of what the hints are pointed towards as far as the way this complex is set up. So we don't know yet, but it looks like it's something about monitoring foreign broadcasts or communications. Could be for the purposes of the regime having a better understanding of what's going on in the world, or I don't think it's to bring more movie stations to the population is my only guess. But
Yeah, I hope we could ask, but I think that was a very good explanation for noobs like me to understand what it is. And if you check YouTube, you can see how Colin is using his hands to explain how the satellites are directed. While we are on the topic of satellites, what's going on with their upcoming potentially satellite rocket launch?
I think I might have talked about this on a podcast recently, but I mean, just the gist of it is that there is unusually new activity at the satellite launch complex that points towards preparations for a launch. But we just don't know yet when it's going to happen. So it really could be any day now. I think it was quiet for a long time. They haven't launched since May 2024. So it looks like they're preparing, but really it could be any day.
I expect that the South Korean president under the new administration, they will react quite differently. Last time we went all fours and emergency alerts and removing CMA and stuff like that. But I would be interested to see what Lee Jae-myung will respond to something like that.
Yeah.
Next up was a very big story. There was a Colin found on, I think it was Planet Labs imagery, that there was a flooding at Shinge military base. Can you walk us through it?
Yes. This is looks like a Corps Command headquarters level of military base, just based on some of the, based on the layout and some of the buildings that are there. Not quite like a Corps Command headquarters, which all seem to have Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-il statues. They have a horse track, a parade training slab of concrete, a couple other features that are basically at all of them. So this one doesn't have the statues, but it has some of the other features. So it looks like a big headquarters. It's in Shinge, which is about 50 kilometers north of the inter-Korean border. And yes, there was really extreme flooding there. So over 300 homes were completely wiped out. It looks to me like a dam busted and water flowed down through the valleys and just wiped out homes. It probably happened quite suddenly. Obviously, we don't have a video of this. We just have the aftermath. And in the aftermath, just homes are completely gone. It's not like flooded and damaged. It's just completely gone. So, yeah, and the identity of this place was identified by the U.S. back in the 80s as an artillery related command headquarters. So we don't know what it is now, though.
Like, even from my noob eyes, it looked really, really seriously damaged. The entire town area, not just homes, but marketplace areas as well. But can you walk us through your methodology in figuring out, checking the baseline when you are trying to figure out aspects like it's probably related to a dam?
Well, when I noticed that the town center or the area around the base itself, which is right on the river, was like just the whole island was completely gone. Like all the homes, hundreds of homes were gone. So you just start looking up and down the river, and I tracked it east to a dam that had busted open. So
you could see the dam was busted open on satellite imagery as well.
Yes. And then, so go to Google Earth. That's on Planet Labs, which is like medium resolution, like 3-meter imagery. And whenever you then go to Google Earth and then check, you can see that the dam is at the top of a mountain. Not like a super tall mountain, but you can see it slopes down from there, down a valley, down towards the town. So you know the direction of the water. It's heading downhill. And you see the normal riverbed, and I checked it every year going back to 2017, which is as far back as Planet Labs imagery usually goes. And you can see there's never been this kind of normal summer flow of the river. And the riverbed is usually only like 50 to 100 meters wide, depending on the water level. But then when you're comparing it to after this the rains that happened in late July, by the way, You can see the brown riverbed goes all the way up past the homes, and that's why they're all gone, because you can tell that it's just like a scar across the land, down all the way through the valley.
I just wanted to showcase to our listeners and maybe some of the local media outlets that pick our stuff up or like almost copy sometimes, that even like one, like half a sentence mentioned by Colin's story, it requires baselines like that. Next up, this was yesterday's story, naval base. It's been almost a decade since the development there stopped. So it seems like it's doing stuff again there.
Yes, this is a naval base north of Wonsan on the East Coast. It's something that Kim Jong-un visited. He visited this naval base back in 2013, said he wanted to build a very large naval base.
When he was a young man.
Yeah, right. Started building it a couple years later, built out a very large quay and docks and slipways, like 10, 12, 15 places you can dock a ship, basically. But they never built buildings on it, really, and they just abandoned the project. So they even built this very large bridge to go towards the naval base, and state media claimed it was to help the fishing villages, and they totally hid the fact that it was for this gigantic naval base, which state media never really reported on in detail. Then Kim Jong-un went there a couple years ago and said again that he needed this naval base for his plans to have a navy that can extend its reach with like a geopolitical fleet, advantage.
Whatever.
Yeah, and then later he started calling it a blue ocean, a blue water navy.
Blue water, yeah.
With that can sail anywhere, So even though he went there a couple years ago to order this naval base, they still didn't start building it. Instead, Kim Jong-un started ordering destroyers and nuclear submarines, and they actually started building it. So it looks like he put a priority of naval spending on shipbuilding, but still didn't think or care about building a naval base. And then once he launched one of these ships in June, he said out loud in state media, "Wow, it's such a shame that we don't have any naval bases for these ships. We don't have anything that can handle a ship like this that we just finished." And then he said, "Okay, but the ship is now deployed," and then everyone was waving to it like, "Goodbye," like
goodbye to where?
Go to your naval base now, and then like a couple days later, we can see in satellite imagery, it never left that cargo port where they held the ceremony. That's on the West Coast, by the way. But they don't have they don't have any good base for these ships in either the West or the East Coast. So now that they've finished the West Coast ship and they're preparing to finish the East Coast ship, now they've just started to, what looks like, put attention back on this naval base. So a camp of construction workers has appeared there now. And it seems like now they're going to build it out.
It sounds like a lot of cramming session going on there.
It always seems to me that the way the system works and the way that everything has to be done on Kim's orders, if he's not attentive to a project, it will not happen. So he put
just get away with it.
His priority. Well, I don't know. He put his priorities on the shipbuilding and not on the base for whatever reason. I don't know if that suggests that all the talk about the readiness of the Navy to be this new type of Navy that challenges the U.S. and South Korea in the region, if this means that that's premature because he's not prepared for that yet, even though he's built the ships, or if it means it was his mistake not putting enough attention to the project and it falling by the wayside. I don't know.
Are you going to keep an eye on all the potential naval base area to see whether or not North Korean officials are doing their work before instruction?
Oh, am I now working for...
You just flag it so Kim Jong-un reads it.
Yeah, and I'm watching some stuff on the West Coast to see because they're going to have to build a base on the West Coast as well.
Yeah.
So that either means improving an existing base, which there are not that many. The West Coast is interesting because it's so the water level is so shallow with the long tides on the West Coast. So there's really only a couple places that seems like they can build one. So we'll be watching that, and it seems like probably they're going to start something on the West Coast at the same time as they started on the East Coast. That would be my guess. So probably we'll have something soon.
Well, that would be a good news for Kim Jong-un as well, probably. And the last one somehow got a lot of pickups, I guess because it had military parade and the subhead. There were the disappearance of troop trucks from the Mirim area. What was this story before about the military parade and what's new?
Yeah, you can kind of get into the weeds on this a little bit. It's really all about making sure what we're seeing means what we think it means. So when it comes to military parades, North Korea has so many of these now that it really doesn't feel like a big deal anymore.
Also, there are like various levels of types of military, paramilitary,
I mean,
whatever.
basically, it's all just helping us flesh out how to predict the scope and size of a military parade, because we want to know, should we expect to see some revelations about their weapons development achievements and plans on a certain date, because that helps us understand Kim's intentions, right? So that's kind of the big picture stuff. So when a military parade is upcoming, it's worth watching for those reasons. Back before 2020, he didn't hold these very often, so it was a much more important type of event.
It was like an OSINT Coachella.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop me in my tracks there. Yeah. But I think there's been like 8 or 9 or more since 2020. So this story is basically trucks for the troops that participate in the marching practices for parades. Those trucks showed up at the main military parade training base in southeast Pyongyang called Mirim or Mirim Yerbyeongshik something training center. So it looked like a small amount of trucks, like it would be for a small parade, or more are gonna show up later. That was a couple months ago, but now they have this mini military parade on July 27th, Korean War holiday.
Yeah,
actually the 3rd year in a row that they've had this type of small parade.
It was like a march-based.
Yeah, just 20 formations, smaller formations that had a larger parade, and no weapons procession. Even though they did this the last 2 years, just because we saw the trucks show up at the training center didn't mean to me that it was going to be that it was related to a small parade, because the trucks weren't there 2 years ago, and then last year the trucks stayed because there was also an October parade. So basically now we know the trucks have disappeared. Probably the trucks that were there last year were for the same reason, just for that mini parade. And now basically it's like a stand down headline. That's really all it is. So I think in South Korean media especially, they paid attention to the story because it's a stand down. Like there won't be a big military parade this October or for some other holiday.
Try to draft a worst possible headline picking this story up.
I don't know.
They take it down because Trump is not interested in North Korea anymore.
Did you see that? ...
expert. No, I can imagine that.
Oh, gosh.
And those are the 5 massive stories that Colin wrote in the past 2 weeks. Thanks for joining us today, Colin. And those of you who are not registered for our West Coast Exchange in Incheon in September, from September 17th to 19th yet, unfortunately, the tickets are all sold out, but the waitlist is open. Have a good week, everyone.